Regularly scheduled city council meeting. First order of business will be to give the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Deacon George Yeen with St. Lawrence Catholic Church if he will come forward and lead us in a word of prayer. If you'll all stand, please.
Let us pray. Lord, as we gather again to conduct the business of this community, we begin by acknowledging your power and your authority. We thank you for your generous blessings on this community. Help us now to know your will in the matters before us and guide us in our decisions. Bless all the members of our city government and all of our citizens. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Deacon Ying. Appreciate you. Council, before we get started with the agenda, I've been asked by Chief Pettis if we can add to the agenda Andrew Richard Craze and Zachary Brendan Reagan to the Monday night's agenda to be put on the Fairhope Police Reserve. So we will put that as item, it'll be just before public participation, the item 19. Can I get a motion to amend the agenda to add this?
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second to amend the agenda. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, the agenda will be amended to include this. Clerk or Mr. Attorney, if we need to write up a resolution for that, you can handle that for us. Pardon? Oh, we have a motion and a second. I'm sorry. I need to call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Now we'll add it to the agenda. Thank you, Clerk. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the regular city council meetings, the work session, and the agenda meetings which were held on May the 18th of 2017. Does anybody have any changes, additions, deletions to these minutes? Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion to approve these minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted. Any final comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving these minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The minutes are approved. Mayor Wilson, your report, please.
Thank you, Council President Jack. I feel like I'm losing my voice, and I apologize. I will be attending the U.S. Conference of Mayors in Miami next week, and the first visit I had was in D.C. last year, and I just brought back an incredible amount of resources for our department heads and for the city. One of the things is called Next Cities, and we've just become a member, and they can help us through the steps to see if bringing in broadband internet would be useful to our city. So it's just a discovery period right now. And so the city of Fairhope is one of the first cities in the state of Alabama to own all its utilities. We've always prided ourselves on delivering high-quality municipal services, so broadband connectivity is a natural addition to our city-provided services. The investment in fiber will give our citizens fast and reliable service. While investing in our city's economic development, we are optimistic that this broadband service will contribute to the maintaining and promoting Fairhope's entrepreneurial spirit. Thank you. And also, I know Sherry Lee didn't have time to do her update. I'm not sure if y'all can make time for that, but I think she does need something for a grant that she's working on. She was going to be doing it during.
You can give her that time now if you'd like.
Okay. Sherry Lee? I thought you were way back there.
Okay, and we can also discuss this, I think, item number 8, it's going to be discussed there, but I think we might need a little more time to go over it, and that's, I think, why you deferred your time to me. Thank you. And this, it's changed a little bit. This is a stormwater management grant that we talked about, and it is the Gulf of Mexico Alliance grant proposal that we're going to seek $45,000, which is the maximum that you can seek for this. And we're looking to focus on our Tatumville Gully area, which is a very sensitive part of our watershed, and something that's really been on our priority list probably for the last, Kim Burmeister, 2 or 3 years, she says, so before my time, but I do know it's been something we've wanted to focus on. And so that's something we would definitely like to apply for, and we have to get the application in by the end of next week. One of the requirements is to have something that's called a Community Resilience Index meeting, which essentially is, it's a way of identifying needs or opportunities, I should say, in Fairhope. And that meeting is already planned and scheduled for Thursday, and it's being run by someone from NOAA is coming in to work with us on that, and various members of the city and outside of the city administration are coming in to participate. And so that requirement will be met. So the only other requirement, I guess, is to get approval, which I know we've got a resolution on the table today. There is an in-kind there's a match for $22,500 from us, and that can be given in kind. So, and this is work that I think we would all agree that we need to do anyway. So seeking the grant is just extra support, fiscal support for us. But the other thing, I have a longer report, which I'd like to also hand out.
Go ahead, please.
So I'll just hand it.
I sure will, thank you.
The only other thing is there was a grant, one more thing from MPO that was given to us for $30,000. And I know, Robert, we met about this as well, Councilman Brown. And there is a match that was supposed to be in kind, but I was just notified Friday that the match actually does have to be a cash match, and it is $6,000. So I wanted to report that since we ran out of time in the work session. But those were the only 2 things I had that we didn't get to cover. And everything else is in front of you on that report.
Okay, since you didn't get to give your report, can I ask the council members or the mayor if they have any questions for
Yeah,
you?
sure.
Please, now. Okay, I don't hear any.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, I had one other thing for you during your report. If you would, can I ask Lieutenant John Hamrick to come forward, and I think it's appropriate to be under your comments to introduce a couple of new police officers,
yes,
and he'd come to
absolutely.
mention it to me just before the meeting, so I think it'd be more appropriate to be under your comments.
I appreciate y'all giving me a minute. Come on up. Proud to introduce 2 of our newest hires to y'all in the city. Raymond Clark, and Ashley Carlisle. 2 very talented people. Ray was a combat medic, has a 4-year degree, started off in corrections, worked his way into patrol. Ashley graduated high school early and graduated college early, which means she's one of the youngest officers we've ever had. So 2 talented people, and wanted y'all to have a chance to meet them.
All right.
Thank you. Mayor, do you have any other comments or reports? Thank you. Okay. Next item is public participation. This would pertain to items 6 through, we're going to call it 19 now with the addition of the agenda item. So if you have something to share with the council pertaining to tonight's agenda items, 6 through 19, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. We do have another portion of the council meeting at the end of tonight's meeting prior to executive session, though. If you want to come up with anything else to bring forth before the council, you may do so then. We'll open the floor to public participation.
Hello there, I'm Debbie Quinn. I live at 7172 Taylor Street in the city limits of Fairhope. And we connect to the new Montrose PUD, which is on number 6, which is the final adoption. And we have worked tirelessly with Mr. Chasen and the Thomason family to make sure that this meets the neighborhood's requirements and the neighborhood's needs as far as ingress, egress, the stormwater issues that we have. We know that the plat review will get down to more specifics, and so we're looking forward to that process. But I'm hoping that you will pass it the way it is at the moment and not make a whole lot of changes since we've worked for 3 years over this. And I want to thank Mr. Chasen and the Thomasons for working with the family. That's very nice and very well received by the neighborhood, and thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. T.J. Murphy, 204 Tensall Avenue. I want to talk about item number 7 on the agenda item, which is related to the moratorium. I did get a chance to spend some time with one of the council members this week, and I deeply appreciate you sharing that time with me. I assume the reason that that the request for the 90-day extension is related to the fact that we did not feel like we got enough done during the original 6-month period. There were quite a few items that were on that particular ordinance, which was 1588, evaluating public utility availability, addressing traffic issues, review drainage requirements, review requirements to protect sensitive environmental areas, review existing subdivision regulations and zoning ordinances, access management on major corridors and other traffic-related concerns. And I'm in support of getting as much time as we need to be able to correct those issues. The concern I have is 90 days going to be enough? Mary, do you feel like 90 days is enough to be able to do all of these?
We're going based on Richard Peterson's recommendations, our operation director, and he's here and can speak to this more, but he did, and Wayne met with several of you, not all of you, but most of you, regarding the reasons why, and it really related to the utilities. And so, yes, I mean, we're never going to get everything done, but we do think that 90 days would be a fair time to get everything done that we think should be done before we open the floodgates.
Okay, I understand. And part of the reason I assume the council has this public participation is because you use this public participation to evaluate the decisions that you make in meetings like these. And I'll be honest with you, it's been a little bit frustrating for me as a citizen to come in here prepared when you don't have a lot of that information. And so I think just one suggestion I would make to you, both to the mayor and to the council members, is that as much information as you can get out to the public, because we like to come to the meeting prepared, because these issues do affect us, that makes us better prepared and gives us the ability to evaluate these issues a lot better when we do get here. It does seem like sometimes we're in a little bit of a reactive state. These items appear on the agenda, and we like to give our input in because they do affect us. But since this will be the last time I have to, and I know I'm limited to 3 minutes, but the other thing is that hopefully that the issues that we're addressing under this moratorium are going to be related, for example, the ordinances and regulations. I mean, we're reviewing those in relation to what? I assume we're reviewing those in relation to a master plan or the comprehensive plan. And I couldn't find any information on whether the council actually has adopted or approved that plan or not, since it has been revised. But if it has, that's great. If you haven't, maybe that's something you should consider as we move forward. So that's all I wanted to say in relation to that. I am in favor of doing that. I'm just concerned that it's not going to get done and we're just going to end up right back in the same situation. And you know, we got to get out of this reactive state at some time. Thank you.
If y'all would like Richard and Wayne to speak to that they're here to do that.
Sure.
It'd just be a
That'd be fine.
recap of the
That'd be
meetings
fine.
that we've already had. I mean, just whenever y'all want.
We might as well, we want to do it now?
I mean, we can do it when the agenda item comes up or whenever you want. Is there any
Richard
more
had to
for,
step out for a
public?
second, but I can cover his. I know one of the major issues is some of the utilities and trying to determine capacity, so that's a major concern that I think we have from the moratorium standpoint. We have an ongoing study for the sewer capacity that Richard can probably speak more in depth about. From the master plan, comprehensive plan standpoint, we had an update last year, I believe it was. And so that's a relatively new document. I do believe we probably need a little more detail on that. Anytime you're doing with a comprehensive plan, that's a long-term process, and that's a multi-year process, which probably falls outside the scope of a moratorium. We are looking at the ordinances and regulations regarding stormwater. That's something we're looking at in the short term, and also revising how the process works for development approvals, and creating more upfront input by surrounding neighbors and property owners, but also having more of a site plan review process to where changes can be made easier rather than when you come forward with a plat, for example, to the Planning Commission when all the engineering has been done and a lot of costs have been sunk into a project. So, and I've met with several of you and mentioned that to you, some of our ideas from that standpoint. But as far as any kind of moratorium discussion, I think it's really the heavy issues are the utility issues and, again, primarily the sewer and getting an accurate read on sewer, and it's not the plant capacity, I think that's the issue. It's really more of the conveyance systems, lift stations and so forth, getting the sewage to the plant, and I think that's what we're currently looking at, and I'm not sure of the completion date of that study, but I know it's not complete as of this time. I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding.
I'll probably wait till we get to that item.
Okay.
I'll probably have a few questions for you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Floor is still open to public participation for agenda items.
I would just like to make one more comment, and Wayne, I appreciate that update, and I do think that the infrastructure of the city was a very important issue. The other thing I would say is we're losing the character of the city. That was part of what that comprehensive plan was to do. So we either need to embrace the comprehensive plan fully, revise it, or scrap it and start over, but we need to do something.
And that really is going to be more about not the comprehensive plan, but a way to enforce it. And that's.
But that's what the moratorium was for.
I know, but to enforce it, the moratorium was not to enforce it, because we have to, well, he can probably speak better to this.
The ordinances and regulations
Right.
were supposed to be put forward so that the
For new
so that the
development.
comprehensive plan could be enforced. The comprehensive plan, as I understand it, the comprehensive
Okay.
plan was a guide, but it was ineffective unless we had ordinances and regulations to back that up.
We have, I wish I had a map, but I could show you that we can only enforce it inside our city limits and with subdivision regulations outside the city limits. So there's a lot that we're working on that it's not going to happen during the moratorium. It's at least a plan, but I think you can probably speak better to this.
Right, and again, a comprehensive plan in Alabama is really just a guide. The state statute says that your zoning and your subreg should be done in accordance with the comprehensive plan, so it should be evaluated and utilized. Going forward, when you see staff reports coming from the planning department, they will cite sections of the comprehensive plan as support for our position that we have. In talking of character of an area, that's something that when you talk about character, now you're getting into design guidelines, which is something that's important, but that needs to be a broader discussion because there are lots of different ways to do that. I know in some cases, some of the design guidelines are very, very strict, and then what you get with that is a very, very bland, everything, a prototypical development, everything looks the same, and I don't think that Fairhope wants that. So there's a lot of, it's a very complicated issue, and I can appreciate the concern to try to maintain the character of Fairhope. I think everybody wants to do that, but there are various decisions that have to be made as we go along as to what that means and at what levels does that occur at, and how to best present those ideas and those ordinances that we feel like will adequately address those concerns. But I can absolutely appreciate that. We are moving forward with reviews and going through the ordinances and trying to do things that we think will help move Fairhope forward, creating more opportunity, but also protecting what's important to everyone here. So we are moving forward with it. Again, to reemphasize, I believe right now the most primary basic concern is the utilities. I think that's probably fundamental to any kind of development. If you don't have utilities, it drastically affects how you develop your city, and that is our primary concern at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. Public participation is still open. These are for agenda items only.
Agenda items only, I can't pray.
Pardon?
May I pray?
Sure.
Thank you, Jack.
I'm sorry I was late. Mayor Wilson, President Jack Burrell, Councilman Jay Robinson, Jimmy Conyers, Lisa Hanks, our esteemed city clerk, Tut Wynn, city attorney Robert Brown, and Kevin Boone. Thank you so much for letting me speak. I just want to address the conflict and pray that we will have a peaceful resolution of the conflict that has been facing the council and within the city structure with the mayor and the council. If I may, last fall when Mayor Wilson was elected by the people of Fairhope to serve as its mayor, it was because the majority of citizens wanted change. And if we didn't know it then, we certainly know it now. Even when change is necessary and wanted, it can often be painful, it can be very hard, and it can just be plain messy. We also know or should know that change takes time, courage, perseverance, and a willingness to trust and respect the leaders we have elected during this time of transition. I respect and trust each one of you. I know you all to be fair-minded people. I admire and support Mayor Wilson's commitment to making the necessary changes that will ensure that Fairhope enjoys responsible growth. And I remember that several of you also included that issue in your campaigns. Surely this is an issue on which you might build to help repair the fissures that have occurred in your working relationships. This is something that I think you all agree on. I admire and support Mayor Wilson's commitment to making the changes necessary to ensure that Fairhope experiences a more egalitarian allocation of services and representation for our forgotten tax-paying citizens, where all our citizens are served and not just the powerful, privileged, and connected. And as I said, I know many of you to be fair-minded people. And I believe that this is an issue on which you can find common ground. And I believe that's what it's going to take for us to focus on our common ground so that we can move beyond the blaming and the bickering. I believe there's plenty of common ground on which we can focus for the sake of our fair city, and I encourage each of you to make that your top priority. Please, for the sake of each other and for our fair city, I pray that we may all focus on our brotherhood and sisterhood and move beyond this blaming and bickering. I pray that we can admit that while we have all tried our darndest, we've all made mistakes, and we've said and done some things that have hurt others. I'm not condoning the behavior or the words of anyone. I'm not taking sides. But please, for the sake of each other and our fair city, I pray that we can ask each other for forgiveness for anything that we may have done or said that hurt another. And that we can have it in our hearts to forgive each other so that we can move forward. I pray with that forgiveness will come a renewed commitment to truly listen to one another with respect, even when we are in disagreement, for the good of the entire community, and let that come before our personal aims and ambitions, or even our agendas. Even though we think we have these wonderful agendas, we can't push our way through. We need to find that common ground and work together in peace and harmony. And finally, I pray that each of your hearts will be softened so that you can see beyond your differences and there can be a peaceful resolution to the conflicts which you face. God has blessed us with a beautiful town full of beautiful people, and that includes each one of you. I thank you for your willingness to serve, and I pray so we can play. I pray that we can all move forward in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Floor is still open. I gave her that opportunity to speak. I do want to keep this to agenda items now. We will have time for the comments in general at the end of tonight's meeting. Anyone else want to speak to agenda items? Okay, I'll close public participation on agenda items. We'll move on to council comments. Councilman Robinson?
I do have a couple things. I want to start by reminding everybody that starting this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the Fairhope Youth Baseball League is hosting an all-star tournament for, I believe, rookie and ozone leagues, for peanut and ozone maybe. And then next week, they're hosting another tournament for starting next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe even through next Tuesday. They need volunteers to help with things like concessions and gates. So if you like being at the ballpark like I do, sign up. You can email fairhopeyouthbaseball@gmail.com if you're interested in participating or volunteering in any way. And that was originally all I had. But Miss Maggie brought up some things that triggered some other thoughts in me. So if I talk too long, you can blame Miss Maggie. She's nobody sitting up here has been perfect through these 6 months, except for maybe Jimmy. He's just so darn sweet. I think it's a true statement to say during our last election, Fairhope voted for change. I mean, obviously, there's a new mayor and 3 new council people. Now, Mr. Ford retired, but 2 were replaced. But in my opinion, I think when Fairhope voted for change, they voted for a change in what they saw or perceived as a stagnant city government that wasn't maybe moving things the way they thought they should be moved. I don't believe that Fairhope voted for a ground-up reconstruction. In my mind, I think the things that we should focus on are elevating Fairhope to the next level, not starting anything over. I think, coming in, the central theme from everybody sitting up here was protecting Fairhope from this surge of growth. And I think everybody agrees with that now. And I think we've addressed those things so far in this administration with a moratorium. We're redoing our subdivision regulations. We're scheduling infrastructure upgrades that are needed because of this rapid growth. I think that is what the focus has been on and should be on. I mean, when we came into office, the biggest problem we faced, in my opinion, is that what we had here was so special and so wonderful that so many people wanted to come here, and we couldn't handle them all at the rate that they were coming. And so, to me, I think what this council and mayor should focus on is taking what we have and making it better. I worry about starting so many things from scratch, because for so long, we had so many things that worked so well. I mean, our flower program was recognized on an international level for how wonderful it was. I mean, the city programs that we put on draw people from all over the state, county, region, because they are that good. And I just, conflict is not easy, and it's not easy from this side either. It really isn't. I think everybody could probably do a better job at addressing that, me included. You talked about respect, and I have tried very hard, sitting in this seat, to be respectful at all times, even when I may not have disagreed with the person speaking. And that's not always easy. I mean, I'm human. I get upset. I sometimes want to respond. I've tried to do that. If I haven't done that, I apologize. But I think you're right in a lot of things. I think there's a lot of things we can do better on. I think the one thing that I think everybody can agree to is that if we don't figure it out, the only people that suffer are the citizens of Fairhope. I mean, if it gets to the point where the sides are so conflicted that we're only concerned about who's right and who's wrong, nobody benefits. And I think we should really all try to think about that in what we do, what we say, what we put out in the community, because I think it affects everybody. And so I guess thank you for triggering those thoughts. I apologize that Miss Maggie made me think of those things, and you guys were forced to endure it. But that's just kind of the way I see it. Thank you.
Councilman Conyers?
Tough act to follow. I think Jay made some great comments, and I certainly appreciate that very much. I don't have a whole lot to add to that, other than just to kind of reiterate that, I think the citizens did vote for change. Change can be good, it can be difficult, it can be scary, it can be challenging, but also change just for the sake of change is not necessarily always a good thing. So we've got to find that balance. We have a lot to do. We have a lot going on in the city of Fairhope. I think that there's enough common ground that if we all channeled our energy into the things that we all agree on, there's plenty there to keep us busy for the next year or two. We can worry about the things that we don't agree on down the road. They'll still be there. Wanted to just point out a couple things from some of my committees, since we didn't have committee updates. Primarily that the Fairhope Environmental Advisory Board has strongly encouraged, and I believe right now there's unanimous support for instituting the clean marina policy whenever we redo the lease for the city marina. So just wanted to put that out there. And Library Board has a meeting a week from today. We did have a Historic Preservation Committee meeting a week and a half ago, and unfortunately there was not a quorum, so we weren't able to conduct any business. That's my comments.
Councilman Brown?
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, a couple of things. I was glad to see that the grant for the Schaefer traffic operations and the Dan Burden downtown study is something we're going to look into again and try to implement, because I think the traffic and the safety downtown is certainly an issue, as we've seen over the last couple of months. A lot of phone calls about speeding traffic around town. Also, along with the Quail Creek Clubhouse, I think building maintenance needs to be part of our long-range plan. Right now, we've got the pool facility that needs repairs. We've got the library that needs repairs. We've got the clubhouse that needs repairs. So we need to get kind of an inventory of city facilities, if you will, and get some kind of maintenance schedule to give a longer life to these buildings. And that's all I have for now.
Councilman Boone?
I just have one thing. The Personnel Board is going to meet next Thursday on the 22nd at 7:15 at the Delshamps room. Anybody would like to get up that early and come see us, come on.
I don't have any comments to make tonight. With that, I'll close council comments and move on to a presentation by Bill Nixon with Pioneer Athletics in regards to the Recreation Department.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Nixon with Pioneer Athletics. We are a manufacturer of athletic field marking equipment, machines to put it down, and the paint that goes on the fields. City of Fairhope has done business with us since, I believe, 1988. And each year, we have a what we call designer fields contest, where people from all kinds of athletic organizations, universities, high schools, cities, parks, recreation, apply for recognition. We do business with a little over 5,000 of these entities across the United States each year. And we have approximately 1,500 people apply for these designations each year. And I am here to present the Field of Excellence Award for the City of Fairhope for the third time. Twice, you've made the calendar, which is published and goes out nationwide. And this is the certificate, and this is one of the calendars. And Fairhope's been on the calendar twice before. Wanted to say that I personally worked from Tallahassee to Baton Rouge, third of Alabama, and almost a third of Mississippi. And I walk on a lot of different fields and look at them. And City of Fairhope has, in my estimation, probably the best field that I walk on. And in this area, there are some universities. And these universities don't have near the number of games that are on these fields here, and they don't look as good as they do. So, without further ado, congratulations to Tom and his crew. Do a great job. And here's your certificate.
Thank you very
Third
much.
time.
Appreciate that.
You're quite welcome. Yes, sir.
Thanks for allowing us to do what we do out there and take good care of y'all.
Tom, we need
Appreciate
6
it.
calendars.
What's that?
We need 6 calendars.
I'll get you some. I'll get you some as soon as our picture's in there
As
again.
long as it's not valued at more than $25.
It's not. Thank you very much.
As a matter of fact, I've left a good many of them with him for y'all to see. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, we'll let them get a photo real quick. Okay, next item on the agenda, if you're following along, is item 6, which is the final adoption of an ordinance to amend zoning ordinance number 1253. This is at the request to rezone the property of Burgess A. Thomason Jr. from R1 low-density single-family residential district to a PUD or a planned unit development. The property is generally located on the west side of Adams Street to just south of Ledyard Street in Fairhope, Alabama, and more commonly known in the Montrose area. We had a public hearing at the last council meeting in regards to this, where the ordinance was introduced. Go ahead, Mr. Dias. Dias is going to go ahead and
Thank you, Councilman Burrell.
brief us again.
Sure. I'll be brief with my comments. We had a good discussion at the last meeting. Again, this is in Montrose. It's 53.94 acres. They're asking to rezone it from R1 low-density residential to PUD. They want to develop 77 lots there. If you see the site plan in your packet, it's heavily buffered. There's a 40-foot platted buffer along 98, and with other buffers platted along the edges of the property that abuts some of the right-of-ways and the streets in the Montrose area. There is one connection out to 98 and one connection back internally to the abutting streets internal to the Montrose community in Fairhope. We had a good discussion at the last meeting. Again, a lot of the property is going to be held in a conservation state or open space state, and they have also has trails proposed to the development. As was mentioned earlier in the meeting, they have had extensive meetings and discussions with the property owners, and I believe they've come to a good compromise on the development. I believe they support it. Staff also supports their proposal as far as the development concept. The next stages for this, if this is approved, the next stages would be the plating requirements, and that is where you get into some of the more detailed items as far as how the lots are conveyed and the open space, how that's handled as well. And so this will be, again, scrutinized at that time as well. But again, staff supports the concept of the PUD and recommends approval of the PUD.
Mr. Dias, does staff agree with the Planning Commission recommendations? There are 6 of them.
The one that we don't agree with is the conservation easement. I believe that's something that they handle between the two parties and whoever may hold the conservation easement. That sometimes can entangle projects. From the city perspective, I feel very comfortable that with the PUD given to the development, the area that's in open space will be held in open space. Any change to that would have to come back before the city council to change that. The conservation easement is really more of a legal technicality that I believe is typically handled between the property owner and the entity who may want to hold that conservation easement. And again, we would prefer that be handled separately outside of the scope of the city. But again, I think we can all be assured that the open space will be protected through the PUD requirements as they stand today.
Any questions for Wayne? You're thinking hard down there, Jay. Any questions?
Does it just look like I'm thinking hard?
It looked like you were thinking
That's
hard.
just my normal face.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, I'll call for a motion for final adoption.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, along with them taking out that requirement for the conservation easement.
And what I see, Wayne, was just it says that the city attorney shall review the conservation easement to assure it is kept in perpetuity as a park.
That's right. That's right. I mean, what we don't want to do, I think, is have anything contingent with that, because I think that brings up some issues.
It would eliminate their tax benefit by us requiring it.
That is my understanding.
But as it being part of the PUD, we can still control whether or not they.
Correct.
If it's in the PUD, they have to do it.
Correct.
That's right. That's right.
And Jack, the word is perpetuity.
You corrected me on that last time. All right. Perpetuity. My lips are a little dry tonight. Okay, so Councilman Boone, I believe you made the motion. Do you want to withdraw that motion and take Mr. Conyers' comments into account? Was that to leave out that item, that number 5, Wayne? On that planning commission recommendation, you want to take a look at that? So
Yeah.
we're certain? Here,
Well, I mean, and it's we don't want to make it contingent upon that. I think that Councilman Conyers had it mentioned a minute ago. I think he was right on target with that. It can be a part of it, but I don't think we need to make it contingent upon that, because again, that can jeopardize the ability for the tax benefits for the conservation easement. I think it can be made part of that, but not be contingent upon that. That makes sense. And again, the applicant's here, he can address that as well, I believe.
Yeah, I'll amend the motion to that.
Okay. All right, so we have an amended motion. You got that, clerk?
Yes.
Second.
You want to make you want to repeat your motion? You're voting your motion is for final adoption, not contingent upon the conservation easement?
Again, if you make it contingent upon that, we had a meeting about a month ago, I guess, with an entity that does hold conservation easements. What they informed us, the applicant, myself, and some of the neighbors from the development, that if you make it contingent upon that, you can actually jeopardize the ability to get the tax benefits from that.
So we can require in the plat approval that to be a park.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So it's final adoption, not contingent upon the conservation easement.
And
being
again-
kept in perpetuity
Right.
as a park.
And Council President, when it comes up for the plating proceed, that's when we'll get into the details of all those things too. And so that will also be reviewed at that time as well during the plating requirements.
Okay. Is that your motion,
Yes.
Mr. Boone?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a
As far as
second.
I know, that's my motion.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'm going to vote for this, but I do want to make a comment. I feel compelled to make this comment. And first comment is that I appreciate the residents of that area working with the developer and the landowners. And I think that when this started off, correct me if I'm wrong, former councilwoman and former council president Quinn, you may have been in opposition to this as it was originally presented. And I believe that you organized the neighborhood and helped steer it in the direction that you wanted it. Not you as a community wanted, not you. And I commend you for that. The only thing that I bring this up again is because we've eliminated a lot of the ingress egress, and that seems to go contrary to the comprehensive plan, which brings me all the way back, and Mr. Murphy, I didn't say it while you were giving your comments about that comprehensive plan, is it seems that every single subdivision or PUD that comes up, nobody wants connectivity to anything, although connectivity is one of the key components of our comprehensive plan, so we might as well burn it if we're not going to follow it, or modify that. I'll let you comment. You want to come forward and make a comment? You worked so hard on comprehensive planning going back 15 to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I am interested to hear what you have to say about that.
The reason why we were against the connectivity is because they were going to have to build the roads to city standards. And the Montrose roads are not city standards. As Jay knows, as several of us in the audience knows, they're very much single lane, big, huge live oaks, and for them to connect, they were going to have to widen all the streets, well, probably 5 or 6 streets in Montrose to make it connect, and it was not going to work. I mean, you're essentially going to change everything in Montrose that made it unique. So we were very much, we worked with them trying to figure out how to do it, and it wasn't going to work out, and so it was basically, we came to this conclusion. So that's why we didn't go along with the comprehensive plan. It wasn't because we didn't want connectivity.
Okay.
It's because it just, you couldn't have a 60-foot wide, right away, and then come down to a little 30-foot wide right away, and people not speed and run over people walking, So that's why.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions, council?
I would like to point this out as an example of how things, when the first or second meeting I attended as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, this project or a variation of this development was proposed for the first time, and it was not pretty. I mean, the audience, the auditorium was packed, and people were upset about it, and the fact that we can go from that to an agreement that the developer and all of the residents are behind says a lot about this community and what the things that we can do.
Any other comments or questions? Any questions for Wayne? Okay. Clerk, you'll call the question.
Council President,
Aye.
place 2.
Aye.
Place 3.
Aye.
Place 4.
Aye.
Place 5.
Aye.
Okay. Adopted. Thank you, council. Item number 7 is an ordinance to amend ordinance number 1588 to extend the moratorium of the filing of subdivision and multiple occupancy project applications for 90 days. Would somebody like to introduce this ordinance, please?
I'll introduce it.
Okay. Ordinance has been introduced. Mr. Dias, you're up again. I know that you've touched on all of this, and we could solve it by asking if anybody has any questions for Mr. Dias. Or was there anything that you left out of your earlier comments?
Not really, but I do want to mention that as far as moratoriums go, there is, when you get, the longer you go, and I defer to Ted on this one, if you go too long, there can be legal issues with that. So I think we're trying to do this with enough time to get what we need to be done, what needs to be done as quickly as we can. So we are cognizant of the fact that there's projects waiting, and also we've got the legal challenges as well we're trying to work around.
Council, I have a question for Mr. Dias, but I also want to make you aware that this ordinance has been introduced, and we may want to vote for immediate consideration if we're considering extending this just due to deadlines. So I want to make you aware of that. That's something that I don't recommend tabling if you have the intention of passing this. Mr. Dias, I wanted to ask you if we are, let's say we extended for another 3 months and we're 6 months into it, are we 2/3 of the way through all of the work that's necessary to
Well, as far as the planning
be done
side,
so that we can?
sure. As far as the planning side, we have, as we've mentioned, we have quite a few amendments that we're ready to propose. We can bring those whenever the time is appropriate for the council. Speaking on the utility side, I'm not that familiar. I do know, in speaking with Richard, that that study that for the sewage conveyance systems is underway. I'm not sure when that's set to wrap up, so I really can't speak to that directly. But again, I think that's one of the more most probably pressing issues is with that. Some of the things as far as the zoning ordinance goes and subdivision regulations go, those are all well underway, and I think we're getting close with those and ready to present something to start the discussion.
What would the date be, the end date now be if this was extended?
90 days from July 4th. Don't have my calendar out.
The current,
Right,
The current was set to expire July 4th.
Okay,
So
so
roughly
90
October
days, yeah.
3rd or 4th.
Mr. Dias, I would also encourage staff to bring forth any changes to our zoning regulations that you might think might be necessary. I don't think that we have to necessarily wait to consider them all in one full swoop. It might even be easier to do it. Now, you might want to give an overview of how everything's going to fall together.
Right.
But, you know, in 90 days or 90 days from, you know, around the 1st of July, if we come in and we have to we lift the moratorium and we have to pass, 27 amendments to our zoning ordinance, it might be easier to start metering those
Sure,
out.
sure.
And it'll get it off your plate as well.
Sure, we can certainly do that. I know that in the subregs also, there's a utility component in there that we're also looking at in the subregs regarding the sewer connections and what type of system to use. We're also working on that. There's some specifications that are referenced in the subregs that I know that Richard is looking at as well. And I think those are something that we could bring fairly quickly. Some of the drainage requirements and LID requirements that we have, we're looking at trying to tweak those a little bit. A lot of things in the ordinance we're looking at are more tweaks. I don't think you're going to see any wholesale, full-scale changes. We're looking at tweaks to, again, try to address the things that are of a concern. Again, some of the long-term, like the comprehensive plan issues, those are much longer-term issues, which I don't believe will go beyond any kind of scope of a moratorium. Those are much longer-term issues that we're looking at.
Any questions for Mr. Dias? Would somebody like to entertain a motion to suspend with the rules and vote for immediate consideration?
I would. We're going to have to do this, so there's no sense putting it off another week, another 2 weeks.
We have a motion for immediate consideration.
Are we going to have, some kind of objectives that we need to achieve and maybe set some timelines of when we need to end this 90 days, or we're just going to keep going? Because I've been saying from day one, trying to get some public input, from professionals, architects, engineers, developers, not to make it easier for these people, but to make the process understandable for everybody. And we've been in this for 6 months, and as far as I know, we've not still had an option for the public professionals to weigh in on the ordinances and regulations. So I want to make sure that's paramount to this extension. That's the only reason I'm for it. Other than that, I don't think anything will be achieved.
Okay. Do we have a second to the motion for immediate consideration?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, clerk, if you'll call that to question.
Council President?
Aye.
Place 2?
Aye.
Place 3?
Aye.
Place 4?
Aye.
Place 5?
Aye.
Okay, somebody like to make a motion for final adoption of the ordinance to extend the moratorium for 90 days?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This might not make much difference, but just when we discuss the initial moratorium, in the event that we do accomplish, if we do set some objective goals and do meet them, we could suspend the moratorium earlier than 90 days, in the event we were able to accomplish that.
We could suspend it at any time, yes.
Okay.
Any other comments? I just wanted to say, and I'm sure you're all going to vote yes, since you all voted for immediate consideration, but that I don't know that we have a choice but to extend it for 90 days because we haven't accomplished yet what we set out to accomplish with the moratorium, and we just need to give them more time. Been a lot going on in the city, so I think we should give them the additional time. With that, clerk, will you call the question?
Council President?
Aye.
Place 2?
Aye.
Place 3?
Aye.
Place 4?
Aye.
Place 5?
Aye.
Okay. Moratorium is extended for an additional 90 days. Thank you, council. Thank you, Wayne. Item number 8 is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Gulf of Mexico Alliance for implementation of high-priority actions identified in existing community plans such as stormwater management plans to help protect the city's watersheds, and authorizing Mayor Karen Wilson to sign all required grant application documents on behalf of the city. This is a 50-50 match, total project cost estimate of $45,000. The city's match would be $22,500 cash or in-kind contributions.
So I spoke about this at the beginning of the meeting a little bit. The scope of it has changed slightly to focus on the Tatumville Gully watershed, our most vulnerable. And Kim and I and some other people inside the city have been spending time together, as well as a couple outside pro bono engineers that have donated their time to us to discuss what types of projects we could do. There's no decision right now. This would be to fund the plan, another fund for a plan, but a plan to implement what we think it would be a great demonstration project on how we could deal with stormwater management in our most, I would say, our most vulnerable watershed that has been known to cause a little bit of, I guess, problems, yes, to some of our citizens, and we want to help address that. But Kim, do you want to speak about?
The Tatumville Gully is also the one that our Public Works facility is in. So as being good stewards of our MS4 program, it would also be a good step in the right direction to study what we're doing in our water. We're the biggest industry in Fairhope, so it would be a way to see what how our impact would be on the watershed in Tatumville.
Kim, what would you see taking place at that gully? What would this look like if action is taken?
Well, I would see an engineer coming in and studying the entire watershed, which goes from Magnolia Beach, the townhomes there. There's a flume that goes right between the two townhomes. There's a flume. That's the outfall of Tatumville Gully. And the head of it's up near Middle Street, Young Street area, or actually Morphe and Young, just south of that. So everything between there and the bay, doing an assessment of the study, similar to what we did in Valana Gully, that I really wasn't a part of, but that the Public Works did. Studying the watershed, looking at our outfall, which is, we have our outfalls identified, maybe finding new outfalls, but identifying the stormwater problems within. And I would also like to see a stormwater study of our facility in between there, just to see our great drains, if they could be improved. But things like that, looking at all the, maybe an assessment of city property within Tatumville Gully, and seeing if there were any potential spots for regional detention areas or stormwater facilities on city property that could help downstream areas with flooding and stormwater erosion in the gullies. There's a really pretty gully that runs through Tatumville, so.
Do you think that, and the only reason I ask this is because if we're going to spend the money on that study, do you feel like that is the most environmentally sensitive part of our stormwater management system, or
we have 12,
there's something that would have a higher priority? Is this the highest priority?
Well, that's for y'all to decide, but there's 12 watersheds in Fairhope. We've studied 2 of them on some level or another. We've done the Fly Creek watershed a few years ago. We did the Valana Gully watershed. Tatumville, I think, is sensitive because of where it is with our warehouse and maybe some proposed activity. there. Point Clear Creek watershed would be another one, but I think Tatumville's been on the list for a while, and I think probably citizen complaints would drive a watershed study there to support maybe some projects there.
Questions, council?
Would you be able to get with Trey Jenright? I know he's got a proposal he's looked at for the single tax colony on that development there at Tatumville. And I know he had some proposals on things to do to improve the flow through that gully system.
Yeah, I really don't, I know that's kind of on the bottom of the watershed.
Okay.
And we also want to look at the headwaters, I mean, up.
Further up?
Controlling it further up.
Okay.
So probably that and everything up to.
I think that would be part of the study, is to identify where to place this. I mean, ideally, we would like to look at creating some sort of demonstration project, like I said, maybe a detention pond or something with some sort of recreational use even, a multi-purpose, so it's stormwater management, floodplain management, which is what this grant is focused on.
Maybe incorporate some of our LID practices that we're telling developers they have to use in
Right.
demonstration projects to show the community.
So to just
How to
kind
do
of lead the way in demonstrating what it is, practice what we preach, I guess.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's feasible there, but, single tax has proposed, and they've wanted us to sell them the land or deed them the land and put a little development there. But I just, as a thought, I don't know if there's some synergies that could be created there that would be mutually beneficial, or some kind of public-private partnership there. Just a thought. It may, I'm saying that off the cuff, it may not be feasible, that, it may be too far down the watershed to do any good, but it should, at least the question should be asked of what they're doing, if there could be anything done there.
Definitely,
Yeah.
because that would impact how the flow out into the bay would clean or not. So,
Might be where you put a settling pool. I have
There
no
you
idea.
go.
I'm not a civil engineer.
I think it should all be considered. We
All of
spent
it
a
needs
lot
to
of
be
time
considered.
exploring. Kim has
It's
taken
like-
me on a lot of field trips.
I think it's like 600 acres or something, so it's pretty.
Yeah,
pretty extensive.
that's extensive, but definitely should be considered, and the engineers should come to us with opportunities like that.
Any other questions, council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion authorizing the submission of the grant application.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to submit the grant. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Okay. Resolution passes. Item number 9 is a resolution that a blower is declared surplus, and the mayor and city treasurer hereby authorized and directed to dispose of personal property owned by the city of Fairhope by receiving bids and being sold to the highest bidder. Council stopped me on some of these that seem to be pretty obvious, if we need to get Dan or someone else to speak to these items. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to declare it surplus and sell to the highest bidder. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay. Resolution passes. Resolution number 10, or item number 10, is a resolution that the city council approves the selection of Jason Thomas to perform professional consulting services for graphic design and layout, and hereby authorizes Mayor Karen Wilson to negotiate a fee schedule and establish a not-to-exceed limit with this firm. Can we expand on what exactly he's going to be doing on his graphic design?
All of our graphic design needs. He's been doing graphic design for the city.
Just general graphic design, it's nothing necessarily in particular.
He's helping with the website, the monthly printed piece that we'll be doing, which is a calendar and some other information, but it's going to be more frequent. He's helping on strategic priorities and presentation, hopefully end of July. And he and Fran have been doing that role for a long time, just as, whenever we have needs.
Right. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to pass this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the selection. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, resolution passes. Item 11 is a resolution that the City Council approves the selection of Keat Consulting Services to perform professional consulting services to upgrade the city's GIS with online mapping system, and hereby authorizes Mayor Karen Wilson to negotiate a fee schedule and establish a not-to-exceed limit with the firm.
If I could just tell a little bit about this, since it's
Yes.
kind of new. This is, as it says, an online mapping system. This is fairly common for most of the larger cities in Baldwin County, but essentially it's sort of like what the Revenue Commissioner has on their website, where you can go online and look up certain properties. This, as a matter of fact, Keat Consulting also supports the Revenue Commissioner's website with their online mapping. And this will be, we'll have our zoning information on there, so you can look up your zoning 24/7. They'll have all the different jurisdictions and various other things that may be of need of citizens and people that are looking at Fairhope. This is, again, fairly traditional. We also will have a component to that will, we will locate the ongoing developments that we have with a point that you'll be able to click on, and you'll be able to get the site plan and the information. So have much more information available to the public from this particular section. Right now, we don't have that capacity. We have static maps on the walls. And we feel like this is probably upgrading or modernizing our GIS system a little more to have it available online. Again, this is fairly typical. But also, I believe Jeff is coming. I think he's behind me. There's some other things we can do with this that will also aid and support the utilities, which is not a public portion of this. And I'll let Jeff discuss that.
Okay. Part of my team has been going around the past couple months and doing GPS points on different trying to collect all the water meters, and after he finished the water meters, he's going to move on to other meters. And by placing those on a map, we can actually use this service to integrate with our utility billing service, and it'll help out with service requests. So if an employee needs to go out to perform service at a certain location, they'll get a map with the exact location of the meter that they need to service. We've got a highly accurate GPS device down to about 1 foot, so they can't mistake where they need to be. So by having this service, it'll integrate with our utility billing service and all work together. So it kind of provides two things with one service here.
Okay. Questions for Jeff? Anyone? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the selection of Keat Consulting Services.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this selection, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay. Keat Consulting Services is selected. Item number 12 is a resolution that the City Council approves the selection of Mott McDonald to perform professional engineering services for stormwater outfall studies. Hereby authorizes Mayor Karen Wilson to negotiate a fee schedule and establish a not-to-exceed limit with this firm. Who's going to? We didn't have an agenda meeting. Who's going to speak to this? I can. Okay.
Yeah, I'm John Peterson with Mott McDonald, and, in 2012, the city hired us as Hatch Mott McDonald then to do a stormwater outfall inventory and stormwater mapping through, and develop the GIS mapping of the stormwater systems. And this is the next phase in that program, really, to get additional mapping tied into the GIS systems for the stormwater infrastructure that connects to the outfalls, to kind of start that process.
Okay. Is this a budgeted item?
This is part of what we are saying we're going to put on the agenda for stormwater. I did not know this other part had been done in 2012 until I met with John. And so that's really, I don't know what percentage is done, but this is one of the things in the more just said we needed to have them. So the fact that his company has already done a big portion of it is important.
I don't have a problem with the selection. I couldn't recall if that was a budgeted item or not. Deborah, do you recall?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I guess we do get another bite at the apple since we're just approving the selection. They negotiate a fee schedule and it has to come back for us once again, so, okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the selection.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the selection of Mike McDonald for professional engineering services. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Okay, selection is approved. Thank you. Item number 13 is a resolution to purchase firearms for the police department and authorizes procurement without formal bidding based on the option allowed by the Code of Alabama. The cost will be $17,039.70. I'll entertain a motion to purchase these firearms.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Okay, purchase is approved. Item number 14 is a resolution to purchase a John Deere out-front mower for the Public Works Department in the amount of $21,731.12. The equipment is available for direct procurement through the National Joint Powers Alliance buying group contract, therefore does not have to be let out for bid. This has been nationally bid through the NJPA's bid process. Entertain a motion to purchase
So
this.
moved.
Second.
Okay. I will note that it is under budget. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the purchase, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Okay. Item number 15 is a resolution to purchase a John Deere 5065E utility tractor for the rec department in the amount of $21,716.81. The equipment is available for direct procurement through the National, Joint Powers Alliance NJPA buying group contract, therefore does not have to be let out for bid. This has been nationally bid through the NJPA's bid process. Entertain a motion for this purchase.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase. Any further discussion? I note it is $283 below budget. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the purchase, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Okay, the purchase is approved. Item number 16 is a resolution to purchase one vehicle, a 2017 Ford F-250 Super Cab 3/4 ton pickup truck for the gas department. Type of vehicle needed is on the Alabama State Department of Purchasing bid list, therefore does not have to be let out for bid. The total cost is $25,365. I'll entertain a motion for this purchase.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the purchase, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. $1,635 below budget, council. Good job, people. Item number 17 is a resolution that Kevin Boone, a council member of the City of Fairhope, is hereby appointed to serve as the City of Fairhope's AMEA Election Committee representative. I will just give you a quick overview of what they do. This is not a board member position. This is the person that's elected by the governing body of the City of Fairhope to go and make the nomination for the board person that would represent the City of Fairhope on the AMEA board.
So moved. You'd already asked for that.
All right, we have a motion to appoint Councilman Kevin Boone. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Councilman Boone as the election committee representative. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, Councilman Boone, you are appointed. Item 18 is a request of Joe Reimer and Ann Brooks with the Baldwin Pops requesting that the sign ordinance be waived regarding the banner rule for their remaining events in 2017. I'd like to hear from staff on this. We're not talking about many times. What are we talking about? A few banners?
Memorial Day, 4th of July,
Well,
maybe
actually,
one other?
Lisa found something that
to me, didn't you email that I think?
Yeah, there's a section in our ordinance that specifies that if it's a city council event, then it can be exempt. So it has to be declared as a city council celebration event.
Calls and pops.
Do we need to pass a resolution designating the ball and pop events that
We can either do that or do it
Henry
in the
George Park.
contracts when we do the contracts each year.
maybe we should go back to that as they come up each year, and then that would settle it, and we don't have to make another resolution. We could approve this for now. That seems like a simple thing to do.
Because they have to go through a lot of time and effort on these banners, and it's a community gift. So I don't think they have to go through this.
Now, it says that the sign ordinance be waived. Do we want to waive certain parts of it? Or, I mean, if we waive the sign ordinance, does that mean that they can put them up 12 months a year or something like that? I mean, I'm not saying they have the intent of doing that, but
You can just say for
Probably
the
less than that.
specific purpose of hanging these banners. We waive for the specific purpose of allowing these banners to be placed for a certain time period, whatever that is.
I think,
Or why are we having to waive it? What are they?
well, if you look at item 8 back there under tab 18, and you look at the 5 provisions of the banner ordinance, it says, signs shall not exceed 30 feet in horizontal dimensions, and vertical height shall not exceed 60. That's C. Take that, for example, and I'm not suggesting at all that they would violate these, but by waiving the ordinance in itself, they could make them whatever size they want, 90 feet by 100 feet.
All they're requesting is that instead of just allowing 2 times a year, which is our sign ordinance, that they can just put them up. I think they,
About 4 or 5 events a year.
yeah.
So really what we're trying to waive is
asking.
provision B of the
Yes,
sign ordinance.
that's it.
Permitting, they're constantly having to go back to get permits each time after 2.
Okay. Could somebody, I think we ought to modify that request to request the sign ordinance provision B be waived.
I make a motion that we modify the provision so that's, I forgot now, subdivision B? Provision B?
Provision B, A,
B, I don't know, yeah.
Waived. So moved.
I'm sorry.
you got that,
Second, I
clerk?
mean.
Yes,
We got a second.
let's do that.
Okay, we have a motion to waive
Provision B.
provision B of the banner ordinance. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a second?
You seconded what I just said.
Yeah, I had to clean it up.
Trouble.
All right, any final discussion?
Thank you.
Hearing none, all those in favor of the request to waive item 8, section B, that sounds like that Back to School, that Rodney Dangerfield movie, doesn't it? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, item 19 was the item that we added, and I'll read this resolution that was drawn up by City Attorney Wynn. A resolution to add 2 members to Fairhope's Police Reserve. Says, be it resolved by the City of Fairhope in regular session assembled that Andrew Richard Craze and Zachary Brendan Reagan be added to the Fairhope Police Reserve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Okay, 2 police officers, reserve officers are added. Next item is public participation. If you have anything else to bring forth before the council, please come forward. State your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Council President, I'd like Mr. Sasser to speak. You had posed a question earlier about what's going to happen and be done in the moratorium period. He's with the engineering firm doing the study. Go ahead, Jeremy, tell him.
Okay, great.
I'm with Goodwin Mills and Cowood. We're doing the capacity study for the water, sewer, and gas system. And I actually met with Richard Peterson on Friday, and our goal is to get on your work session agenda for July 10th and give you a presentation on what we have found, what you have, what you need to do, and then take any questions, and then maybe come back and do a final presentation the next meeting or whatever. But that's our plan, that's our goal.
Got that, clerk? Done. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay, now we'll open up to public participation.
Don't mean anybody?
It does. Oh, then we got a man walking up behind you here.
You want to go first? Sure. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm Rob Ferguson. I live at 908 Seacliff Drive, and I just wanted to say a few things about the marina that y'all are discussing at the end of the street. On Seacliff, we don't have a sidewalk, so all our kids, they play on the street, they ride bikes on the street. A lot of runners use that street, and a lot of people walk on that street. So my main concern is safety of those individuals. I do think that traffic on there is sometimes a hazard, and there's three things that I think y'all might want to consider when addressing this. And one, I think, is we could use possibly some better signage there. Also some speed bumps, especially around some of the blind bends there, to slow some of the traffic down, especially if we're going to have more traffic. And really, it'd be really nice to have a sidewalk there. If there's going to be more traffic, it will be a real safety hazard, and a sidewalk would be very nice to have along that street for the citizens of Fairhope. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
I want to add to what he had to say. I moved to Fairhope.
We'll get your name and address, sir.
Oh, it's Bob Watts, and I live at 853 Seacliff, and I've only lived there since December. And I think if I had known all this crap, I wouldn't have bought there. And I walk down the hill almost every day, and I talk to the people who come to that marina. I don't know if any of you live on Seacliff. I don't know if any of you have a boat at the Eastern Shore Marine. I do. I love the quaint little area down there. I'll also tell you, you don't do crap for your own beach that she talks about. It's being eroded by golf carts going up and down it. There's no sign that says the end of the city limits anywhere. So my neighbor had 3 young men spend a night drinking on her pavilion. At 7:30 on Sunday morning, she walked out in her nightrobe to let her dog pee, and there they stood in her yard. She's now afraid to go down the hill and asked me to take her down the hill. In the last 6 months, I have picked up 12 55-gallon bags of garbage off your street and down on your beach. Nobody's ever cut the grass down there. Nobody gives a crap. There are kids down there smoking pot in my neighbor's backyard because there's a little way for them to get in there. I've never seen one policeman patrol the area. I hear all about your grandiose plans. One side of the street says no parking. You can't build a sidewalk that he talked about because there's no room. We have no place to put anybody. It's a crazy little street. A quaint little street. Everybody thinks we're entitled because we live on that street. My father couldn't read or write, and nobody ever gave me a dime. I don't like what you're doing.
Anyone else?
My name is Sonia Bennett. I live at 81 Magnolia Avenue in Fairhope, and this was the most productive meeting I have attended, and I am so proud that the council and the mayor are so kind and good to one another. I had a long visit with Jay. I promised him I would be nice to him tonight,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
so I'm trying, Jay. I want you to know that unity is everything. When you're fighting and you're being ugly, it hurts the entire town. I want to just read something. It's short. I said, let us find the level of trust and guidance that will unify our town and not divide it. The arms that we need are wise restraint and inflexible resolution to come together to create a town filled with optimism and hope. I told Jay that I know that our mayor has the support of the African American community, the churches, hundreds of women, and hopefully some good men, the writers and artists and educators that the bookstore has supported for years. I don't think any of us want to mess with Fannie Flagg. I think she would be upset if she saw us fighting. But I want to congratulate the city council tonight. I think this is the nicest, most wonderful meeting I've attended, and I applaud you. And I will say to you, there's hope. You expressed yourself, but just keep coming back. This is a good group. We have a great town. I'm proud of Fairhope.
Thank you.
Cliff McCollum. I'm with the Courier newspaper. Just had a few questions that I'd like to address to both the council and the mayor regarding some things that we've been reporting on. And in the spirit of openness and transparency that I know everybody in Fairhope values, with regards to the key logging tracking software that was placed on 7 city employees' computers, I have several questions that I've written down and would like some sort of answer to, and I think a number of residents would as well. Why those specific 7 employees? Are there concerns that confidential data from some of those employees' computers, the city treasurer, the city HR director, is being stored on cloud networks that may or may not be secure? Why has that software apparently been removed from these computers after this was reported on that it was there? Was the council notified of the expense for this particular software and that it was being placed on these particular employees' computers? And as for the type of software this was, I believe a comment was made yesterday that a lot of cities and businesses use monitoring software. Our staff today reached out to every municipality in the county, the county commission, and the Baldwin County school system. No municipality, no government entity in this county uses software that tracks that high a level of use. So I was wondering if any of you had any comments on that.
I can comment if you want. There was a lot of questions, but this is not spyware. It is a monitoring system, and I did put in and quoted the policy manual. Extra level of security was placed on those computers because they needed more protection for the city. And I explained that in so many words. But this can be done at the mayor's discretion. It was done out of the IT budget, which IT has a budget for that. And I went on the recommendations based on information that was gathered that this needed to be done to protect the city. So I know that I also said that, Cliff, you have been, for lack of a better word, biased on a lot of your coverage since I've taken office, and that is your choice to do that. But it's also my choice to say that it lacks both sides. I can also say that, he's tried to write other stories that he hasn't been able to write because after giving him all of the detail, it just wasn't worth writing or stirring the pot. I do think it's unfortunate that you have chosen to do this to the mayor's office. I don't see where it's warranted, and I think that using secret sources is not good reporting.
Amen.
Is that all, Mayor? That's it. Okay. The floor is still open for public comments. Seeing no one, I will now close public participation, and I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending and/or potential litigation and the consideration the city is willing to offer except when the purchase, sale, exchange, lease, or market value of real property. The discussions could have a detrimental effect upon the competitive position of the city in the negotiations if the matter was discussed in public. So I have a letter here from the city attorney. It says, the city attorney, Mary Ann E. Wynn, I hereby request the Fairhope City Council go into executive session based on Alabama code to discuss pending and/or potential litigation and to discuss the consideration the city is willing to offer except when considering the purchase, sale, exchange, lease, or market value of real property. The discussions could have a detrimental effect upon the competitive position of the city if negotiations were, the matter were discussed in public. City Attorney Wynn does hereby declare that the City Council of the City of Fairhope rise from regular City Council meeting on Monday, June 12, 2017, to go into executive session. City Council shall be in executive session for approximately, I'm going to say 45 minutes. At the end of the executive session, the City Council shall return to the City Council chambers to resume the regular City Council meeting. I will tell all of you in attendance, I do not see action being taken when we come back, so if you would like to leave, you may do so. You will probably miss nothing when we come back other than a motion for adjournment. The time is 7:45 p.m. Entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. I now call this meeting back to order. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.